Did Donald Trump invade Venezuela and kidnap the president Nicolás Maduro because Maduro was dancing? I don't mean dancing metaphorically. I'm not saying it as a joke. It's not like code for something else. Literal dancing. There is new reporting from the New York Times that one of the things that pushed Donald Trump over the edge into going into Venezuela and kidnapping Nicolas Maduro is that Maduro was going on TV and dancing, sort of brushing off threats from Donald Trump and repeating the phrase, "no crazy war." And Trump and people around him apparently saw this as mockery. And they said, we are going to call his bluff. This is the dancing this is some of the dancing, which apparently triggered Trump to go and kidnap Maduro. Please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Peace to the bear. Peace to the bear. Sweep us. Sweep us. All right. You get the picture, I think. So think about that for a moment. The U.S. did not go in and invade Venezuela and kidnap the president because of an imminent threat from Venezuela. It didn't happen because Venezuela attacked Americans. It's not because of a treaty obligation that the U.S. must defend some third party and has to go in. It is because Donald Trump and the people around him were embarrassed and angry that Maduro was dancing, that he was dancing rather than taking Donald Trump's threats seriously. And this is where Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, came up with Maduro effed around and found out. Now, the part that matters here is that the decision-making process looks indistinguishable from Trump's personal psychology. The decision to do or not do this operation could be based on economics, trade policy, strategy, the safety of Americans. You could have this long list. None of those things seem to have been the tipping point. The tipping point seems to be Trump's personal feeling that the dancing was disrespectful and that the disrespect is a form of defiance, and the defiance from Maduro to Trump meant he thinks I'm weak. Therefore, we are going to do a military raid. That is not a clinic in impulse control. And it gets us to the question, which we will explore later, is dementia or cognitive decline primarily responsible for Donald Trump's actions in that he has become disinhibited and aggressive, two traits that can coincide with cognitive decline? And in a sense, that would be the most logical explanation, because what Trump did contradicts any real logic. Now, the New York Times article that explains this goes into the kind of toddler logic of geopolitics, and it fits a pattern that we've seen over time. Trump is not about responding to institutions. He responds basically to vibes, to dominance displays, and do I feel respected in the moment or not? And if you flatter Trump, you're safe. And if you challenge Trump quietly, you might survive. But if you publicly defy or embarrass Trump, especially on TV, all bets are off. So Venezuela was invaded amid talks of drugs and oil and order, but the spark that flipped the switch seems to be a man dancing on TV and making Donald Trump feel small. It is a level of instability that tells you so much of what you need to know to understand how Donald Trump functions. Now, one of the major questions that has cropped up, and we're going to hear from Marco Rubio about it, we're going to hear from Donald Trump himself and others, is now what happens in Venezuela. It appears that it wasn't for the narco trafficking because Trump pardoned narco traffickers. It wasn't about authoritarianism because Trump loves authoritarians. It wasn't about regime change because most of the regime is in place. So was it about oil? If it was, the companies are saying, I don't know that we want to get involved in this, and we have to talk about that next. Scams and identity theft rarely start with a hacked password. They usually start when your personal information is easy to find online. Your address, phone number, relatives, employment history. That information lives on countless data broker sites on the internet, accessible to almost anyone unless you actively remove it. Our sponsor, Incogni, is a service that handles that for you. Incogni doesn't just focus on one category of sites. It works to take down your personal data wherever it appears online,
reducing the raw material scammers use to impersonate you or target your family. Incogni will automatically handle removals across hundreds of known sites, but the most powerful feature is custom removals, which is included with the unlimited plan. If you find your info anywhere, even an obscure directory, a business database, something new, you paste the link into Incogni, their team will work to get it removed. That level of coverage really matters. Even a single exposed profile can lead to fraud, harassment, identity theft. Incogni's removal process is independently verified by Deloitte, and you can get 60% off when you go to incogni.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman.